What?
It's a big deal. It's profoundly different.
There's a whole group of people whose voice can be added to how we shape the future.
It's very important that the book exists, that it is there.
Yeah, the book helps with that, the big picture.
Okay, so Henry, Keith, why do you think it's valuable to have Liberating Structures translated into other languages like German?
The valuable thing is that you have the opportunity to correct all the mistakes that we made when we wrote our book in English. In particular, to make it clearer, maybe, of what liberating structures are for, who they are for, what they can do, what they can change, what sort of transformation they can support. And then you have the benefit of all the mistakes we have made. So, piece of cake. I look forward to it. Thank you in advance.
For me, what you're doing is including more voices and shaping what happens next. So, because the book will be translated, there's a whole group of people whose voice can be added to how we shape the future. And that's our primary goal, is to include people in inventing their own future. It's a big deal. It's why we really wrote the book, because have always felt that too many people are excluded. Too many creative ideas are dampened or not heard, and too often people are over-controlled. And the fact that you are taking the time and care and fixing some things that Henry and I may have, errors that we may have made, or things we've learned since we published, that's a gift to everyone, all German-speaking people, and a gift to everyone in the world. So thank you for that.
Okay, now what do you think is the role of the published material in people's liberating structures practice?
I was quite delighted and surprised the first time I saw someone's book, a person who was unfamiliar, and they had marked hundreds of pages in the book. And they knew exactly where to go to open the book, to read it, and then they had their notes to the side of the book. And it was literally, the book made it possible for them to translate something that was on paper to what they were going to do. That still makes a difference, to be able to open. I know you can open your phone and there's an app, but there's something about the way the book works, and writing next to it on a piece of paper, notes to yourself. So that's the practical part of a book.
So I'm a little bit doubtful somehow. I think it's very important that the book exists, that it is there, and it's needed. It's a reference, etc. But I have my doubts about how many people actually read it consciously, particularly the beginning of it, the part that they are not going to use, not the description of the structure, but what is up front in the book that introduces the structure and where they come from and what they're for and that kind of thing. And and there's some sections in there. I remember Keith writing this section about how does change happen. What does it start? Where does it start? There's some very not so simple ideas, for fairly profound, and so I have a little bit of doubt that there are too many people that really read it consciously and really interpret and then make use of what they read. Not just the structure, but what is behind them. There's a lot of important things that can easily get lost there, you know. And you remember that section that I'm talking about how does change happen? Where does it start? You start with an idea as opposed to you start with doing something. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very profound, it sounds very simple, but it's very profound. And it's gets lost very easily.
How do you think, or what is your view on how are the liberating structures more than just the method or just the tool? Like, what else is there? Because we keep on coming back to it. There's more. Maybe you can talk a little about that.
Well, the metaphor that I've used is iceberg. You know, what's above the water, everybody sees it, are the 33 methods, and they are easy to learn. They spread themselves. People get very excited. They like, oh my God, you can do that. Underneath that, and we've learned over time, as Henri was just suggesting, that there's more depth, there's more subtlety. Right underneath that is a set of principles that suggest much of how we've learned to lead and facilitate accentuates over control, makes it possible and easy to exclude people from conversations, and squelches or reduces the number of creative ideas. So the principles illuminate a little more depth. It's under the water. You need to be explicit. Those are in the book. Even more subtle and way under the water is the design, the micro design of each liberating structure. There's a singular logic, a singular pattern that focuses on the relationship and changes the relationship of the participants to each other. And that pattern, we call it DNA. It's microstructural design. And that's something you pick up without intellectual. Eventually, if you use them enough, you'll kind of get a hint of it. But the book makes that explicit. Like, what is the underlying microstructural DNA of this new way of organizing, this more distributed way of organizing?
So I'll add something to that, which is that before the book existed, there was our shared interest, Keith and I, in complexity science or complexity theories, and in the idea that organizations are not machines, but they're complex systems, living systems, and that therefore they shouldn't be run like a machine, which means command and control, that you can decide what to do at the top and tell people what to do and then just make sure they do it. And that you have to work differently if that is the case. And it is, you know, the development of the structure was in order to give tools to everybody that they could use that would make it possible for them to operate in a manner that is consistent with the notion that organization are complex system without having to know the theory or the science or that kind of thing. Okay, so you have something that is simple enough that anybody can use them, but it is consistent with the fact that organization are complex system. And that's one of the reasons why this one question that I was talking about earlier is so important. Who needs to be included? Because in complex system, everything is connected. That is, you know, that's the big, you know, it operates as network, okay? And information has to flow very quickly from one place to the other, and it has to be good information. And so you have to include people, not because it's a great idea or whatever, but because that's scientifically necessary, okay? So that's the background of the structure. And I think that's one of the things maybe you may need or can make a bit of a difference in Germany to make that clear. I don't think that is you know, appreciate it. This is a big deal. It is a big deal. It's profoundly different. But I think it's easy to get lost, to lose that, and to not appreciate that when you just use the structure. And
Yeah, the book helps with that, the big picture.
Super.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
the
Thank
other
you,
thing I
Val.
want to add is we love you.